Ladies and gentlemen, check. The following session is titled Today Cinema and Children. On to the introduction of the speakers. Our first speaker is an Indian film actress and television host noted for a wide range of work in Kannada and Tamil. She is now a permanent member of the BJP's Mahila Morcha and intends to pursue politics full-time in the years to come. Please welcome Malavika Avinash. The next speaker is multifaceted. He's a journalist, he's a third person, he's a film actor. He's a co-founder of Center of Film and Drama, which is set to launch Suchitra School of Cinema and Dramatic Arts at the Suchitra Cinema and Cultural Academy campus in Bangalore. He directed the national award-winning feature film Stumble. His other works include documentary films and Kannada TV serials. He has acted in and directed plays in Kannada and English. I was enchanted watching him play the antagonist in the 2013 super hit Madras Cafe. He has worked for leading English dailies like Indian Express, The Asian Age, and the weekly magazine Sunday. Please welcome the talented Mr. Prakash Belawadi. She is a film actor and politician. She is a star in Kannada, Tamil, and Telugu films. In 2013, she became the youngest member of parliament for Mandya. She has acted in popular films such as Aryan, Lucky Loka, Crazy Loka, Lucky, Bombat, Sanjay Ved's Geeta, for which she won the Karnataka State Film for Best Actress. For her circle of friends and family, she is Divya Spandana. For her millions of adorable fans, she is simply Ramya. This man with a magical voice is one of Bangalore's and perhaps India's most popular RJ. He has worked with All India Radio, World Space, Radio City, and Fever 104, and has been with commercial FM radio from its very inception in the year 2000. Over the last decade and a half, he has hosted numerous top-rated shows, been instrumental in launching stations across India and heading their programming content. I am proud to say he was also my former colleague. Please welcome the very talented Darius Sunawala to moderate today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, be prepared for a very engaging session. And now over to the stars.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tony. Good morning on this lovely breezy Sunday morning. Hopefully the sun's going to come out very soon. Today's panel discussion, no one needs to introduce any of our three panelists. I think they're all well known across the country and especially in Nama Bengaluru. I thought we'd start the panel discussion, which is about children and cinema and the way cinema impacts children. Let's start with Malavika. Malavika, how deep is the impact of cinema on the average person? They're all on. Just speak into them.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Before we start this session, I just like to share with all of you that I've spent a lot of my time and years in Chennai, and my heart really goes out to all my friends and all of Chennai, all the citizens, as well as people from other parts of Tamil Nadu. The kind of devastation that they're suffering due to this downpour that they've seen last week. My heart goes out to all of them, and I think I'd just like to tell them that we stand by them. And as we've already seen in the last few days, there's been so much work and there's been so much relief work that's been undertaken by citizens of Bengaluru. So I'm proud of Bengaluru too for having stood up with Chennai. Um, Darius, I really don't know whether to speak for the others, but for myself, I'm going to say that yes, I grew up watching cinema, all kinds of cinema. And as a child, I think you are exposed to a lot of cinema. Um, I was born after the emergency. However, I have watched a lot of television subsequent to, post-emergency, and we've grown up watching television. Perhaps that's the first introduction to another medium, really, other than your books. And there was television in those days for 2 hours. I think 7 to 9, I'm not too sure. And they used to turn it off at 9. There was no television beyond 9. And and there used to be movies on Sundays on TV. The first movie I remember watching was Mannina Maga. Rajkumar's Mannina Maga. It was black and white. The TV was black and white anyway, so I don't know what the color of the movie was. That must have been black and white too. So that's where you begin. And that's why I began. And thereafter, I think there must have been so much of cinema in my life that I chose to become an actor. However, I think it impacts everyone. It should, and that's the purpose. It's a popular medium. It's meant to impress and impact upon everyone. It's a popular medium.
Fair enough. In fact, you've been a child artist. You started acting at the age of 9, 8 or 9?
9. I was 9.
We will be pulling on those experiences in a little bit. But Prakash, you've directed, from stage to TV serials to full-length feature films. You've directed it all. As a director, do you have a commentary in your head that you're keeping in mind that you want to communicate to the audience? Is there, I don't want to say agenda because that's a loaded word. No, I don't want to start off with children. Let's look at media and its impact on the general public and then understand how that's different from with children.
I came from the theater, so the great difference between theater and cinema is the convention of cinema demands verisimilitude. That means any one of us sitting here can play any role in the world, any part in the world, if it's theater. But in cinema, because of this sense of realism, actually it's not realistic, but you think it is realistic, so it has to be exactly like what it was. So everyone cannot play every role in cinema, generally by convention. That is why to make a film is always much more expensive, even with digital technology bringing costs down. Cinema is much more expensive because of this demand of realism that everything should look exact. See, you can set a play in Venice or in Rome or in Beijing in theater with hardly anything. You don't even need sets for it. You cannot afford to do that in cinema because of convention, not that there is an inherent problem in the craft itself. So I think making the transition from theater to cinema is always a dangerous and risky one.
Ramya, you mentioned something just as we were walking about TRPs and the fact that TRPs affect so much of the way cinema and media is designed. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Thank you. I think today the content that drives TRP is not necessarily very healthy. It concerns me because recently there was a program on TV called The Big Boss in a Kannada channel, and I felt like some of the inmates, one of them actually, who was mentally unstable, and this was known to everybody, and yet the TV channel chose to still have him on the show and use him for TRP. And I think what would have been the most ethical thing to do was to actually get him help. But because they wanted TRP, which is what drives television channels today, they wanted to have him on the show. And of course, the expected happened. There was violence and there was a lot of abusive language that was used. And the TV channels, once he was sent out of the house, he was asked questions about Girish Karnad sir. And then obviously then he was put to jail because of some of the comments that he made. And then there were children who, I think 6 or 7, who was sitting on TV in a panel discussion, and they were imitating this man using all the abusive language that he had used on the show. So this is something that really concerns me, and I think the content, what drives TRP today is not very healthy. And I'm afraid because it changes, I'm concerned for the psyche of the audience, of the people who are watching such shows, and what an impact it must be having on them.
You've brought up a really great point. I mean, we all read about, if not watched, the Big Boss show that you're talking about, where the gentleman you're referring to clearly had some sort of a breakdown at that point. And the show was coming at general viewing hours, which means there wasn't late night. Which brings us to the question that if we are all in consensus that media and cinema has a strong impact on the general population, whose responsibility is it therefore to curate what reaches the children? Firstly, actually, let's start whether it is important for us to curate what reaches our children. What do you think? I mean, your stand is clear. You said yes.
I absolutely agree, and I would like to just say a little more. As a member of parliament, I was on the standing committee for the INB ministry, and we had a couple of bills that came to us, and there were some changes that we did want to make about, bringing in more transparency in what we read. We need credibility, because today if you go to a constituency like Mandya, there are so many tabloids available and they're not verified. So some of the news that is available to these people is not credible. They're just rumors, and people in the villages will just believe anything that they read. And we wanted to bring in verification of newspapers and television channels where people know who runs a particular TV channel and what their leanings are, and if you read a particular article in the paper, if this is paid for, if this is an advertisement, or if it is the journalist's opinions or somebody who's asked him to write it. I think what we need today is I wouldn't say regulation, because I'm somebody who believes in the liberty and the freedom of the individual to, read what he wants to, watch what he wants to. But I think the responsibility is on the media to regulate themselves and be more responsible in what they write, in what they show, because I think people get swayed. They don't have access to what we do.
That's a big can of worms. The transparency between editorial and advertising, editorial and commercial, I think, especially journalists must be smiling at us right now because we've all been in that space. But Prakash, do you think it's important for us to curate what an individual, especially a young adult or a child, is exposed to?
I feel very disturbed by what Ramya just introduced before. This thing of role play is a real problem when it comes to children. When I was in Germany for their annual theater festival. Goethe Institute sent me as a delegate a couple of years ago, and they do this disability theater. And one of the questions I asked, which actually disturbed the host also, was that I said, "Are they playing a part? Or are they playing themselves?" When you put them in a play. And it was a very disturbing question because, they cannot separate the self from the role they're playing. It's a very disturbing question. With children, whether you're actually watching them or not, they're in role play. I've come home and I've seen my 5-year-old daughter when she was 5 years old playing with bolsters, and pillows, treating them like children, walking around with a stick, and she's not performing. It's something they do internally, right? Now when you put them in a role play, in conscious role play, exactly what you do to them, do we think about that is a big question. So, which is why what she said is so disturbing.
Actually, Prakash, I'm sorry, I will come back to you. You brought up a valid point.
One more line I must tell. I think you should stop separating cinema from television because cinema occurs as television these days. So,
fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. But Malavika, you started acting at the very, very young age of 8 or 9. And Prakash brings up a valid point. As a child in cinema, were you able to separate your role from yourself, or do you think that the roles you played as a child affected who you eventually became?
I agree with both of them fully. And yes, I think everything you watch has a deep impact on you, be it your elders. You tend to imitate your father, your mother, everyone around you. You try to behave like your teacher, just like Prakash said a while ago, and like Ramya said a while ago. You tend to imitate what comes on TV, because everyone's discussing him, you want to be like him. And for a child artist, what really happens is there is a completely different dimension to that. See, this is what children do by choice. This kind of imitation is what children do by choice. What they like watching is what they imitate. But for a child artist, you are in a trap. And I'm glad I got out of that trap very consciously. I told my parents I don't want to act. I think I was 11 or so, and I said I don't want to act anymore. I want to go back to school. See, what happens to child artists is it's a trap because the parents are telling you to do something, and the director is telling you to do something, and there are so many people telling you so many things, and it's for you to do all of them to receive a certain applause, which everyone is excited about, everyone around you. Not so sure if the child himself or herself is excited about the applause, but everyone is applauding. And I think these days, I'm going to take it further from what Ramya said. I think it's not restricted to child artists alone, because you have this thing of television declaring a child a superstar singer or a dancer or whatever. I thought I was a victim of child abuse. That's as far as I can take it, because I have seen children. There used to be a little child that I've worked with. I've seen the father taking her to the corner and slapping her and telling her, do that, no? And that child was a very famous child star, by the way. This was much later in my life that I saw. So in that sense, it's for the parents to get excited and get the applause that the children become victims. And it's as much child abuse as any other abuse is.
My God,
it's violence on their mind, you know.
It's psychological
yes,
trauma.
Yes, it is psychological
but
violence.
it's very dangerous because you've also brought up,
There's one
child
thing I'd
reality
like to,
shows.
Yes, there's one thing I'd like to add, that I have seen children, because I am a child artist and I'm concerned about children acting, and I've seen that child getting, abused by the father. I've been watching over the years people that started with me. I don't know whether I should say this, but a lot of child artists have stunted growth. You can go back and recollect. I'm sure we've seen a lot of them. We've seen Malgudi Days. We've seen a lot of these. We've watched Home Alone. We've watched a lot of children act. Please go back and see how they look now. They look stunted to me, be it here or be it elsewhere. Those children have physical stunted growth. Somehow none of them grow taller than 4 feet, is what I have seen. And the heads are really large. Someone needs to do a study on this. I can tell you 10 examples of those that have worked with me and before me.
Prakash, do you agree with what Malavika says?
Actually, I'm amazed that she's so bold and she's able to even
Me too.
write
Yeah.
the names. See, the thing is, it is true that there is a problem here. See, again, I'll give you an instance of Germany. They have a thing called Grips Theatre. You must have seen in Kannada also they have done, in collaboration with some German experts. Because they didn't want children doing professional theatre for children, they got adults to play the roles of children. In theatre, it's possible, unlike in cinema, right? That's because of the convention of theatre. And because to push children as professionals into cinema or television is a very dangerous game to play. See, I'm glad that she said that she told her parents that I want to go back to studies. See, look at Ramya, how articulate she is. And I remember jokes when we were, I used to do a lot of plays for St. Joseph's Commerce College. And I would hear that, the shooting vehicle would come and take her away from, maybe, I'm saying the thing is that when you catch somebody young, there is a reason why children are not given a license to drive up to a certain age, because their brains have not developed fully for that. Similarly, it is, with psychological assessment of playing other people, assuming yourself to be another person, to separate your role in reality from what you do in a story. I think it needs to be studied. There should be a code for it. Otherwise, I think it is a very dangerous trap for children to go into films.
In fact, the studies have been done, and I know that a number of European countries have legislations that prevent children from acting in cinema and in television, and there are a huge, strict list of policies, which then, of course, has an impact on the kind of cinema that needs to be made over there. But let's step away from children in cinema and look at children as consumers of cinema. And I know I'm using the word cinema to talk about TV and films and everything put together. Ramya, you were talking about this in terms of how how surprising and hurtful it is when you see children copying what you believe is a negative role model that they have been exposed to on television or cinema. How do we stop this? How do we manage this? Does it need to be stopped, and whose role is it?
I think the media plays a big role, and I wouldn't say I've done fantastic work as an actress, but I've always tried to do films that had a social message, especially a film like Sanju Veds Geeta. She's a victim of child abuse and she grows up with it and she doesn't talk to many people about it. And then she finally falls in love and she's able to share her misery with this man and so on and so forth. And that was a subject that I don't think any commercial actress at that point of time would have taken up because of the kind of subject that it dealt with. But I did it, and I've done films like that, and I had a lot of feedback where people came to me and said, that it's amazing because I've been through the same thing. So it's also about getting people to talk about. It's also about getting people to have a conversation, to debate. For example, your sexuality wasn't something that was discussed before and was looked down upon. But once you start a debate and you start having a conversation, society opens up, and then it doesn't seem like a bad thing after all. It's not something that is, spoken about in whispers and stuff like that. People talk about it openly. So I think we could also have a positive impact in, dealing with subjects that need to be spoken about. I don't think that children are so I think the responsibility would be on the parents and the media. And I think because, see, parents today don't have the time for their children. They're working, right? So the children are left to use the internet, to watch television or hang out with their friends. They have access to so much information that is not regulated, right? And at the same time, I reiterate again that I'm somebody who believes in every individual's freedom. So the child should be given the freedom, because experience and exposure is what shapes you eventually. But at the same time, I think at that growing age, parents are extremely responsible in what they give their children and what
access the children have to.
Yeah.
I mean, we all parents know that the best babysitter in the world is the television. It's just the most dangerous babysitter to have.
Absolutely.
Malavika, taking away from what Ramya says is that cinema can also have a really positive influence, depending on where your moral standpoint is. When a lot of people are unwilling to talk about abuse or sexuality or sexual choice, maybe cinema gives that space for children to understand that if I'm gay, it's okay. Do you agree with that?
It depends
not
on
the specific
age
example.
Group. It depends on the age group, really. I started by saying I watched 2 hours of television as a child. My son wakes up to the television today. He wakes up to the television and goes off to sleep in front of the television.
How old is your son?
He is 6. That's how much television he watches. And I know I'm not exaggerating. I know a lot of these parents here are suffering. It could be television or television related. So it's like Prakash said, the line is blurred between cinema and television. I don't know how many parents really have the time to take them and put them in a movie hall. You get to watch the movie on TV itself. And what is it that these children watch the entire day? So it can't be, like she said, it can't be good messages. So I don't know. I don't even want to get into that moralizing mood. But, I don't want to sermonize here.
But it's the flavor of the festival.
Sermonizing, is it?
Just moralizing.
It's for the others to do. All right, I won't go there. So, what I am trying to say is that really very little is left with the parent to control in terms of what your child is watching. Yes, you're not there all the time. Like you started by saying, television is your babysitter, television sings songs for you to feed, puts your child to sleep, does literally everything that a mother does. So in that sense, there's very little control over what the child watches. So if there's little control over what the child watches, and what is available is what he can watch. So how many really films that care about children are made, or television programming that care about children are made? I doubt if they are made. Television makes for ratings, like she started, and films are meant to be popular. So I think just before this discussion started, I was asking you, or rather I was telling you that none of us are filmmakers for children. Perhaps we should have had one here and tried to understand why there's so little filmmaking for children. Hollywood makes a lot of films for children. You have your Iron Man and you have the Avengers and Transformer and all of that. But really, I do. And I think it's either that or it's Hanuman and
Chota Bheem.
Chota Bheem. No, Chota Bheem again is not so much mythology. Chota Bheem is a piece of fiction. I think the guy that's most popular with television with children today is Shin Chan. Yes, I don't know how many of you have little kids. Shin Chan does everything that a child is not supposed to do. He'll go to the park and roll, which you keep telling your child not to do. He'll go to the, he'll go to the fair and ask for ice cream.
So are you saying that's a
And
negative?
he will scratch himself, he will scream,
How
he
do
will
we
jump.
how do we control this?
He will do all of that. And Shin Chan provides so much vicarious pleasure to the children, I can't tell you, because he does everything they can't do, or you tell them not to do.
And does that have a positive or a negative
How
impact
can it
or
have
a
a
neutral?
positive impact? I don't
So
know.
then how do we-
Ultimately, it's left for
Whose
the parents.
role is it to curate that?
It's
Whose
the
role
parents.
is it?
I guess it's the parents and the
It
teachers.
can't
We go
just
back.
be the parents. Prakash, do you agree that the responsibility lies largely with the parents? Because we have to look at parents being of all kinds, of all demographics, of all ranges, located all across India.
Look, I'm sorry. The responsibility lies with those who have control over children at any given point of time.
Fair enough.
If it is a school, it is a school. If it's the parents at home, it's parents. See, I'm saying I know that because you brought up this moralizing question. When anybody does anything, if you run an industry, if you run a business, if you're in politics, if you're in government, if you make a commercial film, you're always open to criticism. You may have done something wrong. So I think we should be careful about moralizing and accept that the responsibility is with all of us. Because if you can put the pressure, if media can think like that, we can talk like that here. If filmmakers have a code by which if the industry works with a code on how it should deal with children, then things will get better because it's quite bad at the moment. You know, if children watch a film among children, and if it's about children or something that interests children, I think it may be quite separate from children watching a film at home where, like the parents are divorcing and the children actually unite them by singing some sentimental song in school and the parents look at each other in the audience. I think those could be very disturbing. Day before yesterday, I saw a scene while passing from some movie, I can't remember the language, where to torture the mother, this villain has put 5 children on the ground and he's got a whip and he's whipping the children. And I don't know what it does to children when they watch stuff like that. I'm saying there has to be some intervention. Exactly who can be trusted with the intervention is the problem.
Yeah. Please go on, Ramya.
I don't have children of my own, but I would like to at some point. I would think that children today don't have anything else to do. Like I went to a boarding school and I did not have access to television. I think in the afternoon we were allowed to watch. At lunchtime there was a TV and there was a program on agriculture that came. That was what we watched. And every August 15th, we were all allowed to watch TV, and we watched only one movie for 10 years, and that was Roja. So I did not have access to television. I read a lot of books. I played a lot with my friends. I went out. There were so many activities to do. Children today, the parents are so busy. We don't have parks. We don't have, I don't know, to take away somewhere with the kids, to go away for a picnic or something. There's nothing. They have PlayStations and they have television and the kind of topics that they discuss and they listen to parents, what they being said at home. And I just think that activities for children are so minimal today. I mean, who goes? There's no outdoor activity for them, right? And it plays such an important role actually. And I also think that when you come back home, today, of course, it's a good thing that we don't have more than 2 children. We don't want to be adding to the already populated country that we're in. But I think children also need to mingle with other children all the time and not really get involved in what parents... They grow up too soon, I think.
You're bringing up opening up multiple doors, which is, the fact that children don't go out and get enough exercise or play is noted. They're not getting enough sun because we don't have parks, so we have gated communities where you can play with other kids in the common amenities, but then it creates closed classism. So let's not go there. Let's
because you asked her how do we sort this out,
Yeah,
and
I'm
we
saying-
were
but
saying the
media-
responsibility is on the parents, and we can't really control what television or cinema is making because, like she said, it's all about what is popular, and the media is all about TRP.
But
They
should
don't
it
want
be
to-
controlled? My
It should
question
be.
is, should it be controlled, or at least what time, what kind of content plays out? Is that guided? Is that controlled in India?
That's what I said, right? If the government were to bring a regulation, the media would be all up in arms against them. And I think the responsibility would be on the media themselves to regulate themselves. Now, how many of them really want to do it, and how many of them hands are tied because the television is owned by somebody or the editor has leanings towards some party? I mean, these things you really cannot.
A great question, Prakash. You've got years of experience over here in TV and in cinema. Would the media, would television and cinema be okay with this kind of curation?
No, I think my experience with television is that they don't care. Okay, they're not going to become responsible in a hurry. You know. See, the thing is, I don't think Ramya has gone out of the track here when she says that this is an intensely mediated world that children are coming into. That is what she says. You know, when they wake up to television. I mean, I had not seen a television set till I was 21 years of age. Forget a program, you know. I'm saying it's an intensely mediated world, and children have stopped being children. They're doing something they're not equipped to handle today. They're watching and trying to understand stuff that is not meant for them at all. And somebody needs to intervene. If it's not the government, it should be the industry itself that it must do something. You know, if it cannot do it, we should be really like critical of such things. It really comes down to this. What kind of a world do we want to live in? Yeah. See, you know, tomorrow at Paris when they meet and they try to make an agreement on how to save the planet. Actually, they're talking about how to save life on the planet, as you know, not just life and death, the quality of life on the planet. It's bigger perhaps than the Magna Carta, the League of Nations, the United Nations Charter. It's bigger than that maybe, but the thing is the way media operates now is that is not a big question. What's happening in Chennai is related to that. What happened in Uttarakhand is related to that, right? But we've stopped caring about what is important. And I think children are the future of human life on the planet. And you must care about this. And you should take drastic action because it is very dangerous what's happening.
Very passionate. We'll hold on for some concluding remarks unless you want something really specific. I thought, you know, we've just got about 15 minutes. Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Yes, we've got very enthusiastic. Could we have someone hand over the mic so that we can all hear what they're saying?
Is this on?
Yeah.
My name is Srinivas, and I'm sorry I don't know any of you because I come from a different world. Yeah.
Yeah. We're heartbroken, but we'll move past.
Yeah. The question I wanted to ask was, since you mentioned the emergency, I have lived through it. And I was in Bombay at the time. My father was in a very sensitive central government establishment. I have seen the emergency. I know exactly what it is. So the question I wanted to ask was, a few days ago I went to see Spectre. Yeah, and then in that movie, I mean, I don't care about how long he kissed that woman and things like that. Yeah. My issue was, for the first time, I had to wait till 1984 to see a Bond movie because I was too young, But for the first time in a Bond movie, I saw something I've not seen in the audience before. I saw a group of school children. They were in school uniform, since it had a UA certification. So do you think it's appropriate for children to be, they had come with it was UA, Yeah, no, it was a UA certification.
All right, good question.
Yeah, so, they're in school uniform, Yeah. So my question.
So his question is, was this appropriate?
Was it appropriate?
There's a consensus of not appropriate. I'm on the fence over here because I think a lot of films that get a UA certificate are much worse than Spectre.
Yes,
so I think Spectre's at the bottom of, but a valid point. I mean, how do we control this?
Exactly, because there is such a big noise made about that case.
No, school uniform means they are less than 18. And it's for the theatre manager to check. We were not let inside. We went to school too, till 12th. We were not let inside. I think you should have one of those, those meters that check the height and the age, I don't know. Height, they do, right? In other parts of the world, they don't let you in if you are less than a certain height. Yes. No, but it's totally impermissible and it's the wrong thing. And perhaps we could have reported to the theatre manager. I don't know who let them in. They should have they should have been let out too.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
My question is Ramya ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my boss is Punit Rajkumar. And first movie, Appu and Arasu and Akash. You were experienced, ma'am.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹೆಸರು
Raghu, ma'am.
ರಾಘು ತುಂಬ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸು ಮೊದಲನೇ ಸಿನಿಮಾ ನಾನು ತುಂಬ ಎಕ್ಸೈಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ವಾಸ್ in awe of everything that was happening, and I had a very good experience working on all my 3 films with Puneet Rajkumar.
All right, can we have some questions specifically about children and cinema? Sorry.
The other thing that I have seen, at least my growing up, because I started cinema and I continued, the other thing I have seen is a lot of our so-called leading ladies are less than 18. That's as much, violation of rights. Not you. That's why I said it's not about you. It's not about you, but a lot of young girls are brought to act in the movies. They are 14 and 15. They look like women, and therefore they're treated like that. They lose their childhood. I have seen a lot of my co-artists having lost their childhood because it's those. It's the stress at home, the financial stress at home that leads them there, and I've seen a lot of young women lose their childhood.
A very valid
Male artists
point.
don't grow up.
Yeah. I think we've got a mic there already. Yeah. Sorry, ma'am. Just give us a second. We'll get a mic across to you.
Yeah, my question is to Mr. Prakash. Could you share your thoughts on use of children in advertising? In advertising,
In advertising. I can't believe you didn't go there. Thank you for opening that door
see
for us.
the thing with advertising is, it is primarily, there is a set of products that are primarily addressed to women. And what they do to women is, they will make them ashamed of their bodies. They'll say, your sweat is bad, your breath is bad, your skin is bad, your hair is bad. And they make them ashamed of themselves in the body. The attack on children is insidious. It is even worse than that. What they do is, they will make children attracted to something. Like more car. My daddy's car is big, for instance. By making a child aware of status and difference in status, the whole point of having uniform for school, for instance, is destroyed, right? Advertising with children is a very insidious game. And I don't know what kind of code you can do for it. I am totally against children in advertising, and I will not allow my children, they have been asked many times, I will not permit my children to act in advertising films.
Not permit my son to act either. Not till he's 18.
I'd rather act in the. Yes, send the comments to me. Ma'am, we had a question from.
My name is P.K. Rao. See, my basic contention is that when we were young, we were dumbed down if we were asking any questions about society or about women or about man and woman relationships and all that. But with Western psychology's knowledge and cinemas doing the social transformational role and educational role in many ways, cinema has helped in so many ways. At the same time, it has also brought about issues which were not tolerated by Indian society. So Western psychology is to blame for the relationship of children with parents, children with society, children with this thing and all that. Enough research has not been done in India to prove anything, for or against a particular track of cinema, this thing or something.
Sir, I'm sorry. Have you all followed the question? I understand the impact of.
Actually, I didn't understand the question fully, but I think what you're saying is Western psychology, could it be blamed for?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying, if anything is wrong in this country, we should blame ourselves. We are a disgusting, dishonest people.
I support that. Not the disgusting, dishonest part, but but definitely we should stop blaming the West or any specific religion or community and start blaming ourselves collectively as a people. Making it someone else's fault is just very convenient. Two big issues: making it someone else's fault and saying the solution to someone else's fault is our children. No. We are to blame and we are the solution. Sorry, ma'am. Quickly to you.
I
I'm in a school. I'm Lalita. Hello.
Studying or teaching?
I'm a counselor.
You look very young, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm a teacher and I interact with a lot of parents, and I find that it is when I speak to children, I just ask them, what is it that you watch in television? No, they say everything that comes on it, right? And who is around at home? Everybody. My mummy allows me to watch. So what do I do? How do I go about? So I have tried individually, okay, speaking to parents, and it has worked to some extent. So I don't know. I just want to know how to go about when the whole family is into it and they don't have the sensitivity.
That's a huge question, ma'am. I don't know if
We
anyone
need
has
more
an
people
answer.
like you. That's it.
Basically, I want to know how this sensitivity can be improved.
It's again, it's a personal choice that parents pick up, that teachers pick up. I guess all teachers are not as sensitive as you are, just as some parents are not. I think at the end of the day, it's for, I'm going to give my concluding remarks along with this, shall we?
Yeah.
Because he's showing me that board and it's very,
Saying
very
5
terrorizing.
minutes.
Yes. Is there any other question?
I
or
think there's
I
one.
will conclude with this.
Hi.
We'll come back to your conclusion, ma'am. I'm wondering whether Ramya has something to say to her about media control. I think the question you brings us all back to the question of, as Prakash said, whoever's in charge of the parent, whoever's in charge of the children and control of the children is responsible for that curation. And it has to be everyone in that link together, I assume.
During the, sorry.
So you're talking about sensitizing everyone in that chain, from the teacher to the counselor to the parents to the friends, about what is good media and what is appropriate media and what is not appropriate media.
Yes, even parents don't know. What
Even
is
parents don't know. How do
appropriate.
we sensitize them about what's
Yes,
appropriate
yes,
for their children and
yes.
not?
They do not realize the psychological impact on the child.
children. Yeah. Last
Hi.
question for the morning.
My name is Meher. I'm 16 years old. And I think you cited The Avengers and Transformers as movies appropriate for children.
No.
Okay. But you think those are something you'd let your son watch? Okay, and you said, yeah, and
All
you
right,
said
your
that-
question.
Yeah, my question is that you were really against Spectre. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm assuming you're against it because of an element of sexuality in it. Do you actually think children being exposed to violence is much better than them being exposed
All right,
to
so let's
sexuality, which is a really normal human thing?
You know, I'll make a case of this. You're 16 years old. So I'll tell you what's the problem with Spectre, why I would be worried if my 16-year-old daughter went to watch it. Because it casually moves from one partner to another partner, one sexual partner to another. And you know, that's it is not something that a 16-year-old can easily mediate, I think. But you know, you may correct me, but I think it's not easy.
I had this discussion with him, and that gentleman spoke about Spectre, and I said, you know, I don't think it's wrong that kids, I mean, the problem today we're facing is kids, teachers don't want to bring up anything with biology or any questions pertaining to sex. Parents are also very embarrassed, so they expect somebody else to do it for them. I think the parents should do it, right? So I asked him, I said, you know, what was wrong with Spectre? So what if the kids were 18 years old and then they watched something that, I mean, I didn't know. So he said, no, there's more to it than just, you know, two people making out. He kept moving from one partner to another, and I think that's a very bad thing to do. Morally, he thinks it's wrong. So that's what he felt, that you kids shouldn't be...
morally conflicted.
Morally conflicted, because if the child's parents did that, the child would be traumatized, I would assume, in our society. So when they get conflicting values, it's a problem for children. They cannot handle it.
Right. But
Do you think you're old enough to make your own choices and you know what's good and bad for you?
yes.
Okay.
And I think someone else's morality should not dictate what we see.
Yeah.
And I, as a 16-year-old, can obviously decide and also changing sexual partners is a very normal thing. You don't stay with one person your whole life.
I think you've lost a lot of audience support with that last statement. Let's come to some closing remark. It is her choice. It's her choice. And
No, it can't be her choice. I'm sorry. We want children to stay children for some time. For God's sake, stay children. At least till you're 18. That's all we ask as parents. What are we asking of you? To stay children. Please enjoy all that we did. Please be children till you're 18. That's all we are asking of you. I will I share my concerns with you. Yesterday I was reading a post about this really senior gentleman from our film industry in Tamil writing about how so much devastation has caused so much trouble to all of them and how they've lost so much in Chennai. Yet this was their real bonding time because no one had phones in their hands. There were no smartphones. And I think it's all for us, for parents, to bond with the children and spend as much time as we can and not let them watch TV and we watch TV along, or not let them watch TV and we sit with the phone. We try and spend human time with each other. I don't know, I can't call it quality time anymore. I think we need to call it human time, because that human touch is perhaps what we all are missing out on. And I'm going to say something more serious than what I did to you. One of the doctors was referring to this juvenile delinquent who's been let off recently in the Nirbhaya case. And we call them juvenile because they are under 18. But if we are allowing them to evolve, thanks to the impact of media on them, be it television or cinema, if we are allowing them to evolve much earlier than they are supposed to, they attain puberty much earlier than they are supposed to, or much earlier than we did at least. Okay, supposed to, I won't even moralize there. Much earlier than we did. Please wait for 13 and 14 to attain puberty. It's not so exciting. It's nice to be children. See, you attain puberty at the age of 9. Then obviously you're thinking of sexuality at the age of 13 and 14. And you end up being a juvenile delinquent at the age of 16 or 17. So this can be alarming too. This can be alarming too and can lead to unfortunate violence too. So I think children should be allowed to be children. As parents, I think what Prakash said is what I'll agree with. It's for us really to groom them, to let them be, to not put them in schools that, that regiment them, yet to have a regimen to make sure that they stay children.
Prakash, any closing remarks from you?
No, I think this is a difficult question. And I thought it'll be a kind of light-hearted conversation, but it has not been that. It is a worrying problem. See, those of us who come from theater or cinema backgrounds, I come from a theater family, for instance. The question is, at what stage do you send your children to go and act, whether they want to have a career in films? It's very difficult, actually. And my younger daughter, who has done theater, she studied theater formally. She was asked for a 3-year contract to work with some studio for films. She thought a lot, and then she said, I'll go back to college. And I cannot help saying that I was grateful that she went back to college. So I'm saying I'm conflicted about this. And I think children are children even till they're 21. But of course, I'm exaggerating. Maybe 18, okay, 18, fine. Because it's both my children are now past 20, but it's really difficult to make this decision. And I think we must have discussion, experts should come online, there should be case studies, and we should evolve some kind of a formal or informal code of conduct in this matter.
You're saying code of conduct of using children or at both
ends? How
ends?
to use children. I think we will use children in moving image media, but how we will use them there should be some kind of a code, I think.
Ramya, you have some. You wanted to talk about her choice
right?
of opinion.
Is that what you? We're not judging you. It's absolutely fine. Your opinions are your opinions, and everybody else is their opinions. I think if you're old enough, if you think you're old enough to make your own decisions, fair enough. If your parents don't disagree with you, if they agree with you, it's all good. I'm for everybody's freedom of choices. No, I think we're being hypocrites. I think everybody's had multiple partners. I think it's very wrong to say, no. I think it's very wrong to say, oh, this is right, this is not right. I don't know. I think everybody is up to them to make their choices. I think kids today, I think above 18 are free to make their own decisions on their own, I think. No, I wanted to just speak to her.
It's a sidebar.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Ramya's note
finish.
is a sidebar, especially for Meher.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I think in conclusion, the consensus of the panel today is that we need some sort of control. The control needs to be internal by the media. We doubt that will happen. So possibly it's going to have to at some point be enforced externally through policies by the government. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Thank you.